What a letdown! If Boneworks was the appetizer, then Half-Life Alyx was gonna be the main course. If Boneworks raised the bar for VR, Alyx was going to set the standard. Well, imagine my disappointment when I had beaten the game, and all was said and done. You're watching Friendly Fella Jed. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. Let's start the video. Half-Life Alyx is a game where you play as Alyx as she moves through the quarantine zone, a place where the Zen universe is seeping into Earth. The first 2 hours of the game is spent saving your father, Eli Vance, and then you move on to breaking into a vault, which is theorized to house a super weapon which the characters intend to use against the Combine. Well, before I start with my complaints with the game, I want to start off with what I liked, and there are a lot of things that I liked about the game. The Russells, or the gravity gloves, take a little practice, but they are generally fun to use, and it's very satisfying to pull an item towards you with a flick of the wrist and then catch it. The graphics are some of the best I've ever seen in a VR game. When VR games try to convey a realistic setting, it just doesn't look that good. Half-Life Alyx manages to create an atmosphere and characters that look realistic, but not realistic to the point that it just looks weird, like in Blade and Sorcery or Blood Trail. Looting is something I found to be particularly satisfying. Throughout the game, you're constantly looking for ammunition and resin, which you use to upgrade weapons. Throughout the game, I was constantly opening drawers, peeking under boxes, in trash cans, in buckets, anything that seemed like it could have been hiding something useful. Since you go through ammunition in this game pretty fast, the game encourages you to scavenge for whatever you can, which never really got old. Cutscenes were certainly pretty cool the first time I played the game. True to Half-Life formula, it's not something you just sit back and watch. The game puts you right in the thick of it. It wears off, but it's pretty cool for the first time. The cutscenes are short, so if you replay the game, you won't be stuck watching an unskippable cutscene for too long. Also, when there was that whole sequence with the Strider, I was actually pretty stunned. I've been playing with VR for, 2 years now, and nothing has ever impressed me quite like that. A lot of the puzzles I didn't really like very much, but the wire puzzles I found were actually pretty cool because they make you move about the environment in a somewhat creative manner. For example, I remember this one moment where you're trapped in a room with a monster that can't see, so it relies on sound to find things. Early on, you're able to lock it inside a room. At that point, you're like, well, that's it, won't have to deal with him anymore. And then when you have to fix an elevator by rewiring it, you slowly come to the realization that you have to let him back out of the room, and you're just like, oh god. Headcrab zombies were never really given much emphasis in either of the Half-Life games, which I think is a shame, but in Half-Life Alyx, zombies are much more humanized. With every step comes groans of pain and agony. Every shot you land on them brings out a sound of torment and suffering. It's enough to remind you that these guys were once humans who happened to be unlucky enough to fall victim to these headcrabs, and they're in absolute pain in every waking moment. It's a shame that there isn't more variety with their clothes and faces, but holy crap, do I ever feel bad for these guys. Speaking of headcrabs, good god do they scare me. Whenever I see them, I still keep my distance because they're just so much bigger than I thought they were. I absolutely hate them. Finally, the length of the game is, pretty good. It's hard to find a full-length VR game at the moment, but this game gives me hope that we're getting there. We're making progress. Okay, so that's what I liked. Now, what didn't I like? Strap yourselves in, folks. Maybe get some popcorn, soda or something. Is gonna be a doozy. Well, for one, the game thoughtfully asks which hand you'd like to use for holding your guns, and I, being a lefty, opted to use my left hand. The problem with that is that my movement stick then becomes mapped to my right controller. That's the equivalent of using the right stick on an Xbox controller to move in a first-person shooter. Like, yeah, you can get used to it, but it's still annoying. Why can't my gun controller and my movement controller both be mapped to my left hand? I'd have a more comfortable experience with the game if I could do so. This is a problem which literally doesn't even need to exist. This problem is entirely manufactured. Movement is pretty unbalanced too. I will always use the continuous movement scheme in a VR game given the chance, but it's just faster to teleport around the environments because Alyx moves at a snail's pace. The game isn't teleport only, but it might as well be because traditional movement schemes are so underpowered that you hardly use them. I'd teleport through levels and past enemies with little problem. Alyx is also very chatty, which I really hate. It would be fine if she talked only when she absolutely needed to, but she's spewing lines of dialogue every like 5 minutes. The beauty with Gordon Freeman is that he's a blank slate that you can project yourself onto. I'd say that doing this is doubly important for a VR game because the point of VR is that you're the one in the game. But with Alyx's personality bleeding through constantly, it makes it hard to put yourself in her shoes. Also, the game tries to be funny. It's not funny. It's just annoying. I hate how guns can't be dropped either. It feels so unnatural having them stuck to my hands. I get that guns in this game are irreplaceable, but realistically, you can just teleport them back to my holsters if I move far away enough from the gun that I just dropped. Holsters, that's something that this game lacks. To select weapons, you have to pull up a menu. Like, that's speedy, but it's certainly immersion breaking too. I'd have a better experience if guns were placed on my body. Like, you can still keep the menu as a choice, but ultimately I just want holsters. It's very uncomfortable reaching into your back to get a magazine to reload a weapon. Why can't my magazines just be placed on my hips? It would be more comfortable and natural. Not only that, but the magazines being placed on your back means that you don't really know where exactly you have to reach to grab one. I found myself constantly grabbing at my back trying to grab one, only for my hands to come up empty. That's annoying. I am very much disappointed with the lack of weapon variety. There's only 3 weapons in the entire game, a basic pistol, a break-action shotgun, and an SMG. That's it. Like, why not put in some more guns? A tube-fed shotgun would be nice, an actual rifle would be cool, perhaps these guns could be swapped in and out at combine exaggerators, which are the devices used to upgrade your guns. So while you can only have access to 3 weapons at any given time, you still have options. The puzzles in this game aren't actually fun. In fact, I'd go as far as say that they're not even needed in most cases. Now, when you're trying to get into a combine locker, which are often filled with valuable items such as ammunition, grenades, and resin, it's understandable because these are items that need to be earned. However, when all I want to do is upgrade a gun or open a door, these puzzles just feel pointless. The end result is all the same, you're just adding an extra unneeded step. The puzzles are trial and error and sometimes just a boring waiting game. They're just not needed. Combat with the Combine isn't as fun as it was made out to be. Here's a quick simulation of it. Pew pew, pew pew, pew pew. Combine units are bullet sponges on higher difficulties. When I played this game on normal difficulty, I was pumping round after round into Combine soldiers with seemingly no effect. This made combat unsatisfying. On easier difficulties, combat is somewhat more bearable, but when I found out that I had to fight Combine soldiers, I'd groan because it's just not fun. In fact, combat just feels like a way to pad game time. Sir, the game isn't quite 10 hours long yet. What should we do? Should we add a genuinely interesting level that will actually add to the game? Just throw a few zombies in and it'll be good. Like when I kill a horde of antlions only for another trio to show up immediately after, that's just frustrating and frankly insulting. Oh yeah, manhacks suck. They're basically drones with razor-sharp helicopter blades that will shred you to pieces, except they're too damn fast to shoot. I wish there was a melee weapon so I could bash them, but no, you have to shoot these frustratingly, stupidly fast enemies. Stop. I have ran into a lot of technical problems on my end. Sometimes a save of mine would, I assume, corrupt, and I'd have to restart the game to get into a non-corrupt save. I can boot up these corrupt saves, but I'll just be stuck at a loading screen. The problem is, Half-Life Alyx's loading screens generally take a long time to load. Like, that's not a problem, but it always takes me a minute or 3 to figure out that, oh, the save is corrupt. I need to restart the game. This means I have to wait for the game to exit, wait for the game to start, sit through the Valve Guy intro, wait for the title screen animation, and then, and only then, can I start a non-corrupt save file. It's a process that takes like 10 minutes. I don't want to wait that long. I want to get myself into the action as fast as possible. Like, the game shouldn't even be corrupting my saves. This isn't something I should have to go through. It's not like this is an uncommon occurrence either. It happened on my first playthrough like 7 times. The game even crashed on me once. I have a mid to high end PC and it freaking crashed. My biggest gripe about this game that absolutely disappoints me is just how much it doesn't utilize virtual reality. Virtual reality is a medium that allows you to interact with environments the way that traditional computer games just can't. Yes, almost every object in the game can be interacted with, in the sense that you can pick up a prop in the background and examine it, but that's really it. I want to grab a broom and whack a zombie with it. I want to push a zombie away or to the ground. I want to sweep it off its legs and bash it to a bloody pulp. I want to pick up a head crab and bash it repeatedly against a wall. But you can't. The game doesn't let you. Screw you for trying to play the game your way. You have to stick to our painfully linear experience that we want you to have. It's because of this low level of interaction with the environments that I don't even think this should be a VR exclusive game. This game would work just as well if I were to play it traditionally. It might as well be a PC game with a VR mode offered as a second-hand choice. Yeah, it works best in VR, but there's no reason for it to be VR exclusive. I mean, games like Boneworks would never work on a traditional screen because so many mechanics revolve around VR that when you have to cut them out of the game, it just becomes bare bones and basic. Finally, there's just a lack of replayability. When you charge $60 for a game, I expect it to have longevity. I want to be able to play the crap out of it before I move on to a different game. The problem is, Alyx is a very strict and linear game, so it's not like you'll replay it to see what you missed. I only replayed it a second time so I could get footage for this review. I'm never going to touch this game again, like probably for a few years. And this is coming from someone who's beat Zombie U on 20 different occasions. Really, when you play through the game once, you've seen it all. There's nothing else to see when it's all said and done. It would have been nice to see a tacked on game mode to rope you back in every so often. Boneworks gave you an arena mode after beating its campaign. Hell, I've probably beaten the campaign of Boneworks 3 times and I'll probably beat it 3 times more. Alyx doesn't reward you for beating it. Congratulations, you beat the game, now piss off. I don't hate Half-Life Alyx. When the game worked, it worked amazingly well. Hell, I'd say that if you can get it on sale, because this game is not worth $60, it's a must-have despite its glaring issues, like humongous issues, massive issues. My main problem stems from it just not utilizing the fact that it's VR. It feels like a PC game ported to virtual reality, but they just tinkered with it to make it feel more natural to the VR setting. That's why Half-Life Alyx gets a 6 out of 10. The game is getting critically positive reception, which I absolutely hate. I think the reason these game journals are giving this game like such critically positive scores is because that's what the fans want to see. I think the fans are clinging to this game because, I mean, it is the first Half-Life game in a literal decade and a half. But there's just so much more that could have been done. This game promised so much, but it fell short. Well, I guess it's up to me to shine the light on the dark corners of ignorance and hold Valve accountable for their mishaps. God, I am so noble. But yeah, I'm thoroughly disappointed with this game. A lot of potential just kinda wasted. Well, here's to Half-Life 3. Friendly fella Jed. Out.